Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just click the link in the show description to support now.
This week we have the fantasy sports guru from Anthem Sports and Entertainment's Game Plus Network. I'm talking about my man, Mr. Chris Meaney. Chris is going to be telling us all about his brand new show, Dangle Bet Celly, which he co-hosts with Impact Wrestling legend Eric Young. Yeah, this is a fun one here. Also later in the show, I'll be giving my list of the top 5 pro wrestlers who would make great goons in the NHL. Oh, goodness. But before we get to any of that, folks, this episode is sponsored by our friends over at the River City Wrestling Con. In fact, check out this special message from the 2-time WWE Hall of Famer, Booker T.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Booker T, 6-time world champion. Yes, I will be appearing at the River City Wrestling Con Sunday, June 12th in Jacksonville, Florida, as well as Q&A going down, guys. So get your questions ready. Don't miss out. Don't get shut out. And I'll see you there.
In.
Look at what we have here, folks!
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke loves wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hi, my name is Chris Meaney of FTN Network. I am a sports enthusiast, broadcaster, producer, host, analyst, covering all the 4 major sports in the world, including a little PGA, but I am a huge hockey fan and NHL fan and the co-host of Dangle Bet Celly with my guy, the Eric Young, which you can catch on Anthem Sports and Entertainment and Game Plus Network every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern.
Well, listen, Chris Meaney, first and foremost, Dangle Bet Celly. I feel like this is like the secret code word to get into a speakeasy or something here. So let's start from the top here. What does Dangle Bet Celly mean?
Yeah, it's a great question and one that Eric and I get quite a bit. And, you know, I can't remember who at FTN came up with the idea, but Eric and I both play pickup hockey. And we always chat after, you know, we play games, if we had any nice little moves, if anybody had a goal, and we're able to celebrate. And dangle is just it's a hockey term. It's like deking. It's what the kids say these days when they're dangling in around their buddies, a nice little maneuver. And if they score a goal, then they have a nice little celebration. A little celly is what they call it, like Alex Ovechkin. I don't know if Eric and I are hanging off the glass after goals, but we're certainly celebrating when we're playing our beer league pickup hockey. So Dangle Bet Celly, it's a show really catered to the NHL. We dive through all the games from a fantasy hockey standpoint, from a real life NHL standpoint. We call some goals, some shot props, some point props. We try to pick winners. So it is a betting show, and we want to get that term in there too. So dangle, bet. If you get those bets right, then you celly. Hopefully that's what people can get away from it.
You know, Chris, one of the things that I really appreciate about the NHL is just the fact that at some point something changed. And I want to say it was around 2000, 2001-ish, where they really started to embrace innovation and changing the sport for the better, making it faster, making it more exciting, attracting new fans, attracting, you know, the young people and really getting people back into what it means to be hockey fans. And with shows like Dangle Bet Celly, you're really taking it to the next level because you're making it fun to not only follow along from a fantasy standpoint, but, you know, hopefully make a couple bucks while we do it here. Give me your take on just the way that the NHL has evolved, especially over the past couple of decades here. I mean, am I right in what I'm saying here with my observations?
You absolutely are, Duke. You're spot on, man. The NHL, I think a few years ago, they were looking to get more offense in their game. And that's kind of when I remember it. I know in the early 90s, actually probably mid 90s to the late 90s, a team that comes to mind, the New Jersey Devils. They were so sound defensively. They played a little bit of a trap style. They were strong in goal with Martin Brodeur. I remember watching games against the Devils where you hardly crossed the center line against this team. They're just so sound. They didn't give up a whole lot. And then a few years after that, I feel like they got rid of the 2-line pass. They just, like, the red line is still there. When you go to a game, you still see the red line. It is there at center ice. But back in the day, you could make a pass from your own end, crossing your blue line and crossing the red line. They'd call that down, a 2-line pass. That's when I started to see more offense in the game. You could pass from one end of the ice to the other end of the ice. Of course, if you weren't offside of the opposing team's blue line, it created a little bit more. They were looking for more goals in the game. They wanted it to be more exciting. There's some odd people that, I'm not saying that they're odd, but there's the occasional person that likes a nice defensive game where the goalies are standing on their head, 1-0, 2-1, things like that. And we're going to see that stuff. We've already seen it here in the playoffs. But people want goals. They want excitement. When you go to a game, you see a few goals, you're excited, you're on the edge of your seat. They were, I guess, loose back in the day with penalties not being called. You can get away with basically anything. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. They're really starting to do a decent job, I guess. They still have some work to do, Duke, but getting, protecting the star players in the league, the exciting players. You don't want guys, getting whacked all the time on the hands and the wrists. So we're starting to see, more penalties get called, and it creates a little bit more offensively. But we're having some young kids in the game today that are absolutely electrifying. Of course, you got Austin Matthews there in Toronto, 60 goals this season. He's like the new Alex Ovechkin. He's scoring left, right, and center. And then you have kids like Trevor Zegras, who, came out. I don't want to say he came out of nowhere. He was a top prospect, picked by the Ducks in the first 10 picks a couple of years ago. But I don't know, Duke, if you're able to see, or your listeners able to see some of the goals that he has scored this season. You got the behind the net Michigan. He's flipping the puck over on his stick, and he's putting it around from behind the net, and he puts it back in. You had the NHL skills competition this past year, which some people are like, it's an all-star skills competition. It's not totally fantastic, exciting to watch. Man, these young players today made it exciting to watch, putting a blindfold over their eyes and still like stick handling down the ice and flipping it over spinorama and actually scoring a goal like that. Trevor Zegras did in the skills comp. So there's a lot of young players in the game today. Social media is huge as well. They're doing a good job of advertising some of these younger players. You still have some older coaches, like John Tortorella said, it wasn't good for the game of hockey to have Zegras flip the puck behind the net over to his teammate and him bat it through the air like, Mike Trout at the plate and scoring a goal. I think that stuff is really good for the game. To your point, it's evolving. You're starting to see some of the skill, and coaches are allowing some of these younger players to play freely and do whatever they want to do on the ice. And of course, you scale it back a little bit when it comes time to to play for Lord Stanley. But I am personally seeing more creativity in the game.
Oh, 100%. It can't be understated, the attraction and the ability to build new fans through some of these other mediums that are related to the game, but slightly outside of the game. I mean, I can tell you for myself, growing up in Boston, which is a hockey town, we know that, right? Boston Bruins, all the history and what have you here. I learned who the players were, and I learned the rules of hockey by playing games like Wayne Gretzky hockey on NES or playing Blades of Steel, as silly as that sound. But these video games drew me into having a better understanding of what this sport is. And then you have other things that come along. Fast forward to today, where when we talk about fantasy sports and how huge it is, and, a show like yours, Dangle Bet Celly, where people can listen to it in podcast form if they just want to hear the audio. People can watch you now on TV and watch you in Game Plus. There's places that you can get information, and it's packaged in a manner where you don't insult the intelligence of your audience. You break it down in small enough pieces that they can understand. You make it fun. There's a way to make some money. It feels like a club that everybody would want to be part of. And this all is goodwill for the NHL. It helps grow the sport because you're being inclusive. You're trying to reach as many people as possible and let them know that this is a cool thing to be a part of. Do you feel like an ambassador when you put something together like this, like a Dangle Bet Celly?
Man, I never really thought about it like that, to be honest, as you just laid it all out like that perfectly. And that's what we really want the show to be about. And that's what Eric and I have just, we've strived to make it about the viewers and the other people. Also, we would like to, bring in some people who are just loose hockey fans and, help them learn the sport for sure. And like you said, maybe win a couple bucks on the side and then it's all gravy. It's great. But if they can get something like some entertainment out of it, learn a thing or two about the sport, maybe bring them in and have them watch more hockey games, it's great. I'll give a shout out to my producer, George, who runs the show for us. And before we started doing the show, he hardly knew anything about hockey. Now he's watching games on the edge of his seat, and he's excited about the games. And of course, he sprinkles a little bit of cash here and there on some things, but also just sitting back without any money on the line and watching. We try to make the show about everybody. And I think we've created a little bit of a family, which does feel great. We have, some people that are hanging out with us live every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 Eastern and watching with us. They're giving their own takes on the game, and we incorporate those takes into the show. Like, oh, wow. Like, even if we don't agree with one of the takes, we bring it up, we put it on the screen, and we have a fun conversation about that. I think people see their comment on the screen on TV, on Game Plus Network at Anthem Sports and Entertainment, and it feels like they're part of the show. And I've gotten that sort of feedback from some of our viewers, and they're appreciative, and so am I, that they take the time to hang out with us, and they're not afraid to ask a question to feel silly about anything like that. Somebody said the other day they're watching hockey for the first time here. They wanted to get some NBA bets, and there was no basketball on the Thursday. So they wanted some hockey stuff, and they watched Dangle Bet Celly, and we were talking up Nathan McKinnon of the Avs, and just an electric player. And he scored a goal in the first minute, and we all had some fun because we had Nathan McKinnon to score the first goal of the game. So already it's profitable for them, and they're having some fun. And even if the bet doesn't work, they're still like, oh, this is fun. This is new for me. It's a hockey game. Wow. And then they asked the question, how come Nathan McKinnon? I mean, he's so good. It's a 60-minute game. How come he's not playing nearly all of the game, right? As a basketball fan, he's thinking LeBron plays, 46, he's playing as much as he can in a game. But in hockey, how come Nathan McKinnon's only hanging out for 22, 23 minutes when, he could play 50 minutes? And, you explain the sport a little bit more. Teams roll four lines. Some good players don't kill penalties. They're just, power play guys, and they learn the sport. And he's like, I didn't really think I would want to ask that question because I thought it'd feel silly, but Eric Young is fantastic. He'll tell you he is an absolute fantasy hockey psycho. I believe him, and I don't know where he finds the time, Duke. I believe him when he says that he watches 300 games in a season. He's texting me overseas where hockey's starting at 5:36 in the morning about a goal or a shot or a save. So I absolutely believe him that he is a big hockey psycho. So we have fun with it. I don't know if we feel like we're, an ambassador of the sport, but shot props are something that's new here in the NHL over the past couple of years, and that's one of the things that I like to do on the show, and try to tell people where I think the offense is going to come from. They can get a fantasy spin from it. We talk about their favorite players, their favorite teams, and like I said, they could maybe sprinkle a little something on some of that. So I think we're helping the sport grow, I guess, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, we have some new hockey fans that are in and that are watching, and from a betting standpoint, really seeing sports take off here over the past couple of years, covering the majority of the sports from a betting angle. And not a lot of people would talk about hockey picks or hockey bets or a hockey betting show. I never saw any of that over the past couple of years. I'm starting to see more and more of it. And it's been pretty profitable so far, knock on wood.
Well, anyone asking why someone isn't on the ice for the full 60 minutes, let me just say this. I've been on ice skates and played a little hockey as a kid in East Boston, in our rinks there. And I've even been all the way up to Vermont and played on ponds and even lakes, frozen lakes and what have you here.
Nice.
That it is very, very difficult. I wasn't any good. I'll be honest with you there, Chris. So I can't even imagine playing 60 minutes at the highest level straight without taking a break. Good luck to that. I don't know if that's going to happen there for anybody. My goodness. But Eric Young, this guy is just completely crazy. Legitimately one of the most intelligent, entertaining, and just high energy people that probably has walked the face of the planet. And I mean, one of the most decorated wrestlers in Impact Wrestling history. Okay, let's just get that out there. literally a real life cartoon character. When you see him on TV, when you hear his voice, it's just like, whoa, what is going on with this dude here? So when you first met Eric Young and going from that point to now where you're actually hosting this show with him, Dangle Bet Celly, I mean, what's going through your mind, Chris? Do you wake up and just say, is this guy for real, or is he from like another planet or something?
Yeah, I've been saying for years, Duke, that this guy is from another planet. He is an absolute beast. He is unreal, and he's such a just a nice guy. And that's what's the best thing about him is he's such a good dude. And he could seem maybe intimidating if you watch him in the ring or you see him doing some promos. It's like, holy crap, like that dude is scary. But he is just like, he's a teddy bear. And he may not want me to say that, but the guy is like, he is such a great human being. I remember the first time I was working at Anthem Sports and Entertainment at a company. It was Fantasy Sports Network. It was the first ever 24/7 fantasy. It was first ever 24/7 TV channel dedicated to fantasy sports. It was a little bit of betting at that time, but it was mostly just fantasy sports and a lot of football. And of course, I'm the crazy Canadian that just loves hockey. And then Eric is, also from Canada and loves hockey as well. And I forget who linked us up. Maybe a shout out to Nando DeFino, or it was certainly maybe Chad Midgley as well. Just, Eric Young, big wrestler, loves hockey. And he wants to get into kind of broadcasting, and he plays fantasy hockey. He watches all the games. You want to have him on your show for 10? I was like, are you kidding me? Yeah, I would love to. Absolutely. I would love to have this guy on the show to talk a little hockey. So he comes on with his Nashville Predators hat, and he's got his muscle shirt on there, and he's ready to go. And I just want to talk wrestling with him, and I don't know too much about wrestling. And it's like, I'll ask him some hockey questions. And he just went off on a rant about hockey in the game. And he loves I could tell right away the passion in this guy's eyes and the dedication to the sport. He was a great guest, and I'd have him on again. And then we parted ways a bit. We kept in touch, and then we worked together at The Athletic and covering hockey. I was brought on there to cover some fantasy sports and produce some podcasts and host a couple myself as well. And Eric and I got together again over there to do a fantasy hockey show. And it was just podcast audio. You can listen wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. So not on TV, not video. And we had some fun back and forth. We did that for a full season as well. And then, the pandemic happened, and, he was busy, and I got laid off at The Athletic, and then I joined another company here at FTN. And again, hockey, I wanted to do a hockey show again. And I thought, why not Eric Young, right? We play fantasy hockey together now. We're in keeper leagues. We're in dynasty leagues. We text every day. We're watching games, not together, but kind of together on the phone, whether it's Zoom or whatnot. So it is a dream to work with him. I have to sometimes push him to kind of get mad a little bit. I want like hockey promos from him, the way that he does his wrestling ones. Like, you pick this guy right now or you'll regret it forever. He's going to get you 3 shots. He's going to get you 2 goals. We're going to win cash. And he does it. And he's a good sport about it. Everyone loves it. He is great. And again, when I say the nicest guy, I've seen a couple hockey games with him together. He came to Montreal. We watched a Canadiens and Nashville Predators game at the Bell Center in Montreal. He brought his girl, and we took him around the city, and we watched. At the time Montreal wasn't great. Nashville was kind of hanging out, and it was actually the last game of the season before the NHL went on pause, and we had the pandemic, and they didn't come back for months later, but. Eric was so great. He brought me down to meet Roman Josi, Victor Arvidsson, all the Predators players. We had conversations with Pekka Rinne and some of those guys. He got us probably 10 to 12 tickets in Nashville. There was a fantasy sports conference happening in Nashville. The Predators were playing that night against the Sabres. The dude got us all like a dozen tickets, took us out to a Wicked Burger joint before, just kind of showed us around the city, and again, just hung out with us afterwards, and we had the tickets in a row, and yeah, it just showed us a great time, got down to ice level after the game, and he really is doing a whole lot. I don't know where he finds the time, and good on him. Like, he blew his knee out last year and still found a way to do the shows and train to get back to where he is now, and I wish him nothing but the best, and I'm just so thrilled to be able to do this show with him. And like I said, dude, just most of all, he is just a really good dude. he'll just give you the shirt off the back. He comes in with a new hockey jersey on every show, a new one. We've done a ton of shows, and the guy still has a new hockey jersey every time he shows up. And yeah, he's a true hockey fan. I don't know if there's a lot of people out there that know that about him, but he really is.
Well, shout out once again, Eric Young, a.k.a. EY. Really, really good dude. And Chris, that was a perfect Eric Young impersonation. That
was okay. It was not the best.
That was pretty good. But you know what I appreciate too, Chris? You gave us a little hint of part of your resume there. And I think that's really, really cool because you are somebody who is so well accomplished in what you do. You've done a lot of podcasting. You've done a lot of hosting work. You are a fantasy sports guru. You found a way to take your passion and turn it into your career. And what we're seeing, especially in this modern era here where digital content is so important and we need more out there, people are really paying attention to this new medium, this new way of consuming information. And, you know, a guy like yourself, you figured it out, man, and you're knocking it out of the park. Do you have any advice for other people out there who are passionate about something and thinking about finding a way to turn it into their career like you have?
Yeah, I appreciate the words, man. That is super nice of you to say. I think you kind of nailed it there when you were just going over passion. I think, you know, don't give up. Anything, honestly, is possible. I mean, I heard you as a Boston guy, I'm sure you heard that before with Kevin Garnett. Anything is possible. I mean, dream big, and why not, right? And don't be afraid to, I think the biggest thing for me is don't be afraid to hear no. Don't be afraid. Don't like ever get discouraged or give up. I mean, the path for me is crazy. I don't have to get into it deeply, but I've always been a big sports fan. I mean, I grew up playing hockey. I played against Sidney Crosby as a kid. I mean, I remember when I was 11, he was 9. He scored like 7 goals on us. He kicked our butts. He was amazing. We knew that this guy was going to the show forever when we were kids, kind of growing up in the same area as him. But hockey was always a passion. Sports was always a passion. I mean, there was always a game on in the house. I didn't know what I wanted to do growing up. I mean, as a kid, sure, I wanted to be in the NHL, you know, and that stuff is tough. And even kids that could be listening right now, I mean, still go for it, right? Try your hardest. But I knew that I wanted to be in sports somehow, whether it was, you know, playing the game or reporting on it, being a reporter, being a broadcaster, some play-by-play. I took a radio and television program in a small community college, and it was really tough to find a job after that. I ended up going out west, working the oil patch, writing articles on the side from just freelancing at a company, thinking eventually someday I'm going to, you know, do this for a full-time job. And the oil patch thing was just, you know, until I could try to find something. And then a radio station launched back where I was from. I moved back home. It was mostly news and sports. I wanted to talk sports all the time. They knew that. They took away my sports broadcasting. I was like, that's it. I'm going back to school. I took more schooling to get into sports. A shout out in Toronto, College of Sports Media. I did that. And that's where I met the Anthem Sports Entertainment guys, Anthony Ciccione. I was doing some TV stuff with him and met Chad Midgley. And I'll never forget it. Was my first TV class in year 2 with Anthony Ciccione. He's a big part of Anthem Sports Entertainment. He said that they were launching this first ever fantasy sports channel. And if anybody knew fantasy sports, you know, just kind of hit me up. And I had just started a website with my buddies for fun, writing about fantasy sports and games that night and talking about the players who did great the night before. And then I showed that to Anthony. And then I remember the next day, he's like, somebody's going to call you. It was Chad Midgley. And he said, how would you like to intern here after you're done? If it works out, we'll hire you. I was thinking to myself, are you kidding me? I'm actually going to talk sports. Like, I never thought I'd go down this path. And it just, if you have a passion with something, don't give up. Don't give up on it. Try your best. I've been turned down hundreds of times for interviews. I found it so tough to get into this field. And I think the best advice, if you are a person that likes hockey or likes any other sport and you want to give any advice, start your own website, start your own podcast, you know, start your own little YouTube channel. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And, you know, from a betting standpoint, there's going to be highs and lows. You know, we're fortunate that things have worked out. We've went through some rough stretches, given some picks, but for the most part, it seems to be a profitable show, which is good. But don't get discouraged about things. I would just say continue to try your best. And like I said, Duke, I never thought I'd be here hosting a show with Eric Young, a hockey show, which is a huge passion, and then sitting here with you talking about it. It is unbelievable, a little pinch me moment, but again, anything is certainly possible. And if there is something that you love, get after it.
I love it, man. I mean, you're definitely living a dream, and I like inspirational stories like that. I like to point out these things because part of the thing is when you're in the middle of it, it's very difficult to see, how incredible life can be because you're literally living it. So it's just normal to you. But for someone on the outside looking in who may be doing something that they have to do, but they have this skill, they have this institutional knowledge because they are focused on this thing. Like yourself, you grew up playing youth sports. I'm shocked that you actually admit that Sidney Crosby kicked your butt.
Oh, did he ever? Did he ever?
In hockey?
My claim to fame, dude, is that I won one face-off out of the 10 against him. That's it. That's all I got.
Listen, Chris, you're such a nice guy. Don't you know you're supposed to embellish a little bit and say, yeah, they it was people were hanging off the rafters and it was a close game, but in the end he just squeezed it out. But
yeah, no, I wish it went that way. It was a tight game, but when he dominated everybody. I mean, he had his own stick. I had a Paul Coffey Shearwood hockey stick. He had his own Crosby stick, which was just phenomenal. But no, he's a good sport and another nice guy. But yeah, man, I guess I should embellish that one a little bit.
Yeah, we got to work on that one, Chris. For that's talk to EY about that. It'll help you work on your promo on how to retell that story to make you look a little bit better on that one there. But I love it. That's good stuff. And I appreciate the fact that you shouted out some of the folks at Anthem Sports. Fantastic team over there, and certainly Cindy Ronzoni, who is a great friend there. Shout out to her and the Access TV folks as well. It's a team effort. And I love what you folks have put together, especially with this new Game Plus show, this new division of your Dangle Bet Celly team here. I mean, it's really, really cool. And Eric Young being a part of it with you, it's just that's a winning combination for sure. So for everyone listening, what is the best way that they can keep up with Dangle Bet Celly? How can they watch it? How can they hear it? How can they place bets? Give us the whole 9 yards there, Chris.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, Game Plus Network, it's always a great lineup over there. I have another show as well, Mean Streets, which airs Monday to Friday at 2 Eastern over there. And they also have other things all in football. A show with Jake Seeley's a football-based show, Pat Mayo Experience. Him and I used to work together at Anthem Sports and Entertainment with Anthony, with Chad, and Len and the crew over there. So you could watch it on Game Plus on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. It will actually air at 5 Eastern. We record live from my house and Eric's house, wherever he is on the road. I mean, that's another thing that this guy, he's on the road doing other things and still finding a way to do this hockey show. But you can watch for free at our FTN YouTube page. I tweet it out all the time at Chris Meaney, but FTN Network, FTNBets.com, one of our free websites. You can watch the replay there for free as well. But if you're subscribed to our YouTube page, you'll get notified right away when we put the show up, when we schedule it, when we go live, you'll get notified. And then also if you listen to your podcast on iTunes or Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever it is that you listen to your favorite podcast, it will also be available there as well. So if you subscribe, you'll be able to see that. Sometimes we do some surprise shows when Eric is up. It's Stanley Cup playoff time, so we may have some shows like an extra one midweek that you can watch or listen to on iTunes or YouTube or Spotify and things like that. But yeah, every Tuesday and Thursday we go live at 10 Eastern, and we're breaking down. And the schedule's a little bit different now. Throughout the season, those were the big days, and we planned it that way. The big days in the NHL would be Tuesdays and Thursdays. We can kind of recap the weekend on a Tuesday and preview the weekend on a Thursday. And we had a hard time getting into that, Duke, because just the way the schedule runs, there's like 12 and 13 games on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Right now, there's only the 4 as we, get deeper into the playoffs. Or recapping the night before and previewing the other series that don't land on those Tuesdays and Thursdays. But yeah, you follow our YouTube page and check out FTNBets.com. But most of all, Game Plus Network, there's a lot of good reasons to be subscribed over there. Awesome stuff there. Once again, Dangle Bet Celly. Listen, Chris, before I let you go, I got a big question for you. Okay, because like you said, we got the playoffs. We're in the hunt here. This is fantastic. If I want to set the mood, okay, if I want to make sure that I have everything taken care of, I need the proper drinks,
I need the proper snacks and food. I want to have everything set up for me so I can have the proper atmosphere, so I can make my bets, I can enjoy the playoffs, I can make a couple of bucks here, get my Dangle Bet Celly fix with you and EY. So lay it out for me, man. The Canadian style too, all right? Don't let me down now. Come on, Chris. The Canadian style, what am I drinking and what am I eating to make sure that I have the right juju here so I can make the proper bets?
It's good questions. It's good questions, yeah, for sure. Well, people just think because I'm north of the border that I just love Labatt's, and we have a fun little Labatt segment on Mean Streets, like your 6 picks. There's a Labatt 6 pick of the night. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, the hockey fans probably don't want to hear this. I'm a big vino drinker, so I don't mind cracking a bottle of vino and watch some hockey. But man, when the Habs are on, and this year I don't get the Habs. But man, the nerves and the energy and the stress and the excitement when the Montreal Canadiens were playing the Leafs in the playoffs, I was drinking Labatt's, and I was on the edge of my seat watching this hockey, hoping the Canadiens could come back and find a way to beat the Maple Leafs, and luckily it happened. But yeah, man, some nachos, right? It's you can never go wrong with nachos. It's a nice little finger food. That really does come to mind. Nachos and wings. It's kind of the hockey thing, even here north of the border, you go out for a game at a pub. It's, you get a picture of whatever they have on draft, or, some craft beers that they have. But it's the wings and the nachos, some finger food. You mentioned betting. I did want to give a shout out to FTN Bets too. Like, I guess one thing we do is, people will ask those questions through the show, like, what's your favorite pick? We always recap at the end. Eric's got his favorite picks. It's hard for him to narrow down. He gives goal scorers, and he calls them really well. And when there's 13 games, he likes 13 goal scorers. But he does a great job of narrowing down the few, and we give those picks at the very end. And we also have a pick tracker at FTN Bets where I keep track of all my picks over there. So if you are looking to get in on some more picks from the show, you could also check out the website. But yeah, man, what about you? I mean, you're a big hockey guy. What are you drinking and eating when you're watching a little bit of puck?
Well, I'm a Boston guy, so it's got to be Sam Adams.
Oh yeah, it makes sense.
You know what I mean? It's got to be Sam Adams for sure. And I'm with you. I'm a wings guy, but I'm going to try something though. I got to, instead of doing honey, because I like to do like a double fried, almost like a Korean style chicken wing. Especially my air fryer. I figured out how to do that to get it so crispy and so crunchy, like it's just the right flavor there. But I'm gonna instead of using honey, I'm gonna go with some maple syrup. Okay, to give my shout out to my Canadian cousin here, Chris Meaney, I'm gonna do some maple syrup here on my wings so I can make sure I'm ready for Dangle Bet Celly. I can have the right situation, so hopefully I can make a couple of bucks. What do you think about that?
I think it's fantastic, and I can't believe I didn't think about that. It's something that I'm probably going to have to do here this evening, and I will definitely report back to you and tell you how that works out for me, and I can imagine it's going to work out very well. Air fryers are fantastic. A little bit of pepperoni in there. I would do the honey mustard, but I may have to get into the maple.
I love it. Listen, Chris Meaney, you're a great dude, man, and I really appreciate you. Please, I'm going to give you a big invitation. I want you to come back to Duke Loves Rasslin, especially as it relates to some of your other shows, because I know you're a guy that you're not just working hockey season. You're a year-round kind of guy. We want to hear more about where we need to place our bets and how we can have a good time. So I'm going to hold you to that one, Chris.
I appreciate that plug, man, Duke. Anytime you want to chat about anything, man, definitely hit me up. This is fantastic. You're a great host, and I love what you do. But FTNBets.com, like I said, we keep track of absolutely everything over there. We have a couple different handicappers. One thing about our betting package is if you have it, you have all the picks from everybody across all the sports. We have projections. We have tools on there, models that kind of help and project players so we can find some edges when it comes to props. We have Discord channels where people can hang out. You can ask questions at any moment. There's always, like I said before, I feel like we've created a bit of a family here, and that's what I love so much, Duke, is the relationship that I have with some of the viewers, and they're not afraid to ask any questions. We have the 24/7 access to talk anything that you want, bankroll management, or hockey. Did you see that save? Did you see that play last night? So FTNBets.com. /pricing. You can use the promo code Meaney, MEANEY, Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. You can, that'll save you a little bit of cash, but we keep track of everything over there: sides, totals, props, futures, parlays. And, we keep track of units just so people can have an idea of, maybe somebody's better at sides, maybe somebody's better at props or totals, but also for our own credibility. We want to have the viewers and the people that, pay for this subscription to be able to see all the picks. And, again, we've been doing okay. We're up to 90 units here in the NHL. We were over 100 last year. So I do believe that the sport is profitable. I feel like some books haven't caught on to some of the hockey props and shot props like other sports, for example, the NFL and MLB, which I do cover. But appreciate you letting me plug that. Of course, the show is free. We give the free picks on the show all the time. We have some fun with some of the hockey picks and props and goal scorers, and take your fantasy hockey advice or questions if you have them to try to help you win your championship leagues. Because honestly, it really is all about you guys, the viewers, the listeners. We want to make the show entertaining, but we also want to help you guys help create a distraction. Life is challenging. It's hard enough. And also put a few bucks in your pocket so you can load up on some wings and watch some hockey.
I love it. Take us out with a promo there for Dangle Bet Celly, Chris.
Yeah, Dangle Bet Celly. It's absolutely, it's everything hockey related. Where the shot's going to come from, the props, who's going to get the assists, who's going to get the goals. It is just previewing all the games from a fantasy hockey standpoint, a daily hockey standpoint. Anybody out there plays DraftKings or FanDuel, we got you covered there as well. But we want the show to be about you guys. Want to hear your hockey stories, hear your fantasy hockey bets, who you're feeling tonight on the ice, and we'll give you a little bit of advice as well. But yeah, twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 Eastern, live on our FTN YouTube page. I tweet it out at Chris Meaney. Eric tweets it out at the Eric Young. We tweet it out every morning, and you can always catch the replays there, iTunes, Spotify, wherever it is you listen to your podcasts, but also on Game Plus Network on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 Eastern. So strictly hockey all the time, and we'll be with you guys until that Stanley Cup is raised, and we'll be previewing next season, and we can't wait to do it.
If you are a content creator and you want a great program that provides studio quality sound, especially when you're doing interviews, then I encourage you to check out Zencastr. That's right, Zencastr. It is my absolute favorite program to record with. I encourage everyone to check it out, okay? Visit Zencastr.com for more information. Enjoy. Shout out once again to our friend Chris Meaney. Also our friends over at Anthem Sports and Entertainment, Game Plus Network, the whole crew there. Of course, Access TV here in the United States. Love these folks here. Just fun stuff there. And I'll tell you, when we think of the NHL, of course we think of people scoring goals and the excitement of that. As Chris and I talked about, the game has gotten a lot faster over the years, which is great, a lot more excitement. But we can't get away from talking about the hockey fights, okay? And there were just certain people in the league who were goons, man. I mean, they really know how to throw down, make it happen, make it exciting when they have to straighten people out on the ice. And it got me to thinking, in pro wrestling, who would be some of the folks who would make great goons in the NHL? Okay, so I'm going to give you my top 5. And listen, this is in no particular order. This is just my top 5 in general of who would make good goons in the NHL. Okay, I'm starting off first and foremost with the Beast Incarnate. We're talking about Brock Lesnar. Just look at him. Absolute ass-kicking machine, built on destruction. This guy is no one to play around with. Former UFC world champion as well. Just an overall incredible athlete, tough guy. If you really get on his bad side, he is going to tear the whole place up. So Brock Lesnar absolutely makes my list. Next up, Bobby Lashley. Very similar to Brock Lesnar, has an MMA background, a collegiate wrestling background, someone who's not to be messed around with, military service and what have you, been a world champion everywhere he's been, not only in the WWE, but also in Impact Wrestling. Bobby Lashley, and when you look at him, I mean, my goodness, Bobby Lashley looks like he was carved out of stone. I mean, just muscled up, 100% solid, quickness, power like you wouldn't believe. Can you imagine Bobby Lashley having to take the gloves off and having to toss somebody around on the hockey ice? Are you kidding me? In the NHL, good luck to everybody. So Bobby Lashley definitely on that list as well. Next one, please. Come on. Do you see this one coming here? Nikita Lyons. Okay, Nikita Lyons. First of all, she has that martial arts background. Okay, so forget about pro wrestling. She has the martial arts background, and she is someone that has some great size on her, deceptive quickness. She's someone who will not be pushed around by anyone. Can you imagine if Nikita Lyons was in the NHL? I mean, if I was coaching an NHL team, I would put her on that hockey ice just to take out the best player on the other team, okay? Just to goad them into a fight, because I know Nikita Lyons would definitely knock them out, man. Shout out to Nikita Lyons. She might actually be the best potential NHL goon out there. You know, I don't know. Maybe the Boston Bruins or even the Montreal Canadiens. They need to reach out to Nikita Lyons and see what's good. Okay. Next up, how about this one? Jon Moxley, the man formerly known as Dean Ambrose. Can you imagine? I mean, they call him the lunatic fringe. He is someone that just cannot even be controlled. You know, he marches to the beat of his own drum, and when he gets out there, man, you better watch yourself there. I'm telling you right now, Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, whatever you want to call him today or tomorrow, that is one person that would be probably the most beloved goon of them all if he were to ever step out there on the hockey ice there. Certainly, I feel like the NHL is made for people like Jon Moxley, because the dude is just absolutely insane and is not afraid of a good fight. Okay? Last but certainly not least, of course, we mentioned him earlier in the show, Eric Young. I mean, just completely, like I said, a larger-than-life figure, a cartoon figure come to life. Eric Young would make an incredible hockey goon. First of all, it looks great in a hockey jersey, knows the game very well, so he could be one of those players that, although he likes to mix it up out there, he can also, you know, make the correct pass or even score the goals himself there. But Eric Young, I can only imagine if he was out there on the ice, he would be terrorizing whoever steps in his way there, because the dude can fight, and it doesn't matter how big or how small you are. The thing about Eric Young is that he is not someone to play games with. Okay, so Eric Young absolutely rounds out my top 5 pro wrestlers who would make great NHL goons. What's your list there? Okay, at Duke Loves Rasslin on at Duke Loves Rasslin on Facebook, on Twitter, DukeLovesRasslin@gmail.com. Let me know, who are your top 5 pro wrestlers that you think would make great NHL goons? Would love to see those lists here. It's fun stuff there, man. You know, once again, folks, you got to check out Dangle Bet Celly, FTN Bets. It's the Game Plus Network, brought to you by Anthem Sports and Entertainment. Check it out. We got the playoffs going right now. This is the perfect time for you to have some fun doing some fantasy hockey, hopefully win a couple bucks for yourself. Why not? All right? That's right. Okay, listen, we have another episode of the Duke Loves Wrestling podcast that's coming to you this week. Some independent wrestling stars are going to be joining us, so stay tuned for that. You know I love to do these sports specials, though. I like to mix that in every now and then there. And certainly Chris Meaney, why not? That's just really good dude. Really, really good dude. Definitely will have him back on the show. And I plan on maybe joining one of his episodes as well on one of his million shows that he has. Chris is everywhere out there, especially with Game Plus. So that's pretty cool. Okay? As always, folks, be kind to yourselves and be kind to others. Take it away, Tony Schiavone.
This is Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Wrestling.